Back to the game on Saturday. Boy, another tough one. 2 weeks in a row, and just a really challenging one. I was watching the film. I think I said this post game, though. I was encouraged by the grit that our players showed, the fight, the determination, and Nevada had it as well. My hats off to them. They played and made some big plays too when they had to. But I think our guys did too. It was a game of momentum. And I think that momentum went back and forth, and whether we were down 10-0 in the first quarter, come back, they were down, they came back, we came back, and so forth. Unfortunately for the Spartans, we didn't have as much as them at the very end, and that was probably the telling difference. But I was proud of our guys. I don't want to lose momentum. I do think we are improving as a football team. It might not be reflected in the final score, but our guys are competing, playing very solid football, and unfortunately came up short. But 2 weeks, 2 overtime type games and outcomes. It's tough, but hey, you gotta bounce back up, and we know we get an opportunity this week to go to Hawaii and take on University of Hawaii. So our guys will be definitely looking forward to that and do that. So with that, let's open it up to any questions.
Good afternoon, Ron. Your road record is 1-4 going into this final road game of the season, but you've really played pretty darn well on the road. Seems like you're getting sabotaged by something here or there. A play maybe, or just a mistake, something. What will it take to do better to play away from San Jose?
I think to be a successful road team, you have to be able to be focused, dial out the distraction, not have the distractions, the noise I call it, present, and deviate you from your normal course of operations. And so I think our team's gotten better. I go back to the Air Force game, to Corvallis, Oregon State. I think we improved significantly from there, even though we didn't get the win there, but we played really well in the first half, and I think we've improved. I won't go through every one of those, but I do. We've been competitive in all our road games, really, and I know 2 of them got away from us early on. But I think our team has improved. So that's something that's been a focus since the Air Force game, is we have to be a good road team. And I do think we've improved, but it hasn't come out. But I do think we're knocking on that door, and you keep chipping away and keep knocking on that door. Eventually it's going to open. It's going to open up. And I think, keep chipping on the rock, it's going to eventually crack. And I think that our team is maturing and growing up. And I'm excited about the number of guys we have coming back. And you look at, when you go through challenging, tough, painful times, you certainly you hope that those times are the foundations of future successes, because contrast brings clarity, and we all learn from tough, challenging times in our life. And I think we all become better people, or a better team maybe, because of that. So I'm tired of being close, though, to answer your question, Elliot. I'm tired of being close. We all are. We want that win. We want to walk away and have that victory for the Spartans, but it's right around the corner. It's coming, but it's something we have improved, and I think staying focused, being able to play as a team, being able to be dialed in and take care of business as if we were in our own stadium. That's the important thing on winning on the road.
Coach, with these back-to-back losses have been so close and heartbreaking, how do you keep these young men motivated to not lose focus of, with what's still left to play for?
Sure, they're resilient. Young people do have that. A day or 2 later, they do bounce back, and we talked about it yesterday, and I had to kick myself, because I have to be able to get over it too. And so I reminded them the 24-hour rule. We can feel the pain, and it's normal. It's human. I would be bothered if someone 5 minutes later felt peachy after a tough loss like that, right? And so I don't think anyone felt that way. But I think the 24-hour rule is important. That hey, you feel the pain. Let's watch the film. Let's correct the mistakes. Let's learn from those mistakes. And then we got to move on to the next game. And let's not let the same opponent beat us twice. I said I don't want a hangover from that game carrying through midweek. And I think we did we moved on from the BYU loss. We moved on from the San Diego State loss and had a nice win over New Mexico the following week. I think And those 3 losses or any loss is tough, but you have to be able to move on. And I think our guys will definitely do that. They still know there's opportunity. They still know one game at a time, put one foot in front of the other. And our opportunity this week is University of Hawaii.
Coach, you mentioned you guys had some tough losses earlier in the season, but would you say this one particularly was the toughest loss you guys had because you guys were up 11 and then couldn't close out Nevada at the end?
Well, I think they're all tough. I mean, they could have said they're up 10, and didn't close us out. I think closing people out, they're all tough. They really are. And I think, any type of loss and conference loss and on the road and, there were some things there that were opportunistic. Being the first team to win since 2000 was something we were talking about. Being able to sweep the state of Nevada, something that San Jose's never been able to do. There was solidify second place. There were so many good things there for the taking, and it didn't happen, unfortunately. But hey, that happens, and you just got to be able to move on. Yeah.
You end the season with it's a difficult turnaround, a long trip to Hawaii, and then a Friday game the day after Thanksgiving, which I'm assuming that the team will have some kind of something with family or whatever.
Yes.
So this is a lot, and I'm just curious about, do you change up the weekly routine to prepare for it, or? And I realize going into this week you probably don't, but then,
Right,
but you
correct.
also need to think about that long trip home and.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's a good one.
Right.
And then dealing with a short turnaround.
No, yeah, it's that week will have its own unique circumstances, being the holiday and being a short week. But and I'll address that next week. But really, this week is a regular week for us, even though it's a long trip. We'll be going back a day earlier, get there Thursday night. When we book these trips, we don't know if what the kickoff time is going to be. So it's hard to fly 5 hours and play a 12:30 kickoff the next day. And so being on the safe side, we decide to go back Thursday. It is a 2-hour time change, and that's not so much as the jet lag. And so it ended up not being a 12:30 kickoff. It's 6 o'clock kickoff, and so that's fine. We'll have a little more time to get acclimated, get a Friday practice in, and to get ready for the game. And then, roll up our sleeves after that point and see what happens. But we got to take care of business in Honolulu, which can be, again, another tough place. Elliot, you mentioned road games and playing on the road, and we have to be able to do that. A successful team can win on the road, and this is our next challenge.
Coach, after losing Tyler at the receiver spot, and now you had Tim step up, so to speak. Can you talk about the dynamic between him and Kenny that you're starting to see?
Yeah, it's great. Timmy is really a tremendous ambassador. We've got so many young men that are good ambassadors for our school. Timmy is an honor student. He's 3.7 student GPA. He just does things the way you ask your players to do things, and so came here as a walk-on, and a Bellarmine product, local school, and just caught my eye in spring practice how he's so solid, so dependable, and such a reliable young man. And it was really rewarded him with a scholarship, and it's nice to see him grow. And he learned from some good ones, the Chandler Joneses and those players when he was young, and just always is accountable and for his actions and does a good job. Very smart football player, and even though he's 5'9" and he's only 175 pounds, he is very reliable and very well respected by his teammates. So it was nice to see him have a real productive game. And Kenny, we have to remember, is a first-year starter in this program, and he missed about 3 games earlier in the season. Because of injury, and so that his development didn't come along as quickly as we would have liked. But I think he's caught up. I think he's caught up in a shorter time, and he's getting a good feel for his receivers, and he's made the adjustment. I mean, our best receiver, Tyler Winston, we do miss him, and it was tough losing him 2 weeks ago with a season-ending injury. But we have one Spartan goes down, another one opportunity for another one to step up, and so Timmy is been that guy, and he really had a nice game, and I think there's some good chemistry between Kenny and Timmy and Hansel Wilson as well, and Justin Holmes, and it's been there all along, I think, with Billy Freeman, but it's good to see we have a multitude of receivers we can go to.
Coach, you just talked about Kenny, and he had done a great game, both passing and running the ball. Can you talk about if he's grown into a leadership role on this team, and if he has, how so?
Yeah, and Kenny did that. He had strep throat. He threw up on the sideline during the game. He, just a warrior type effort. That he was staying hydrated. That's the important thing. But he just went out there and a great effort. And wasn't feeling great, but nothing where it could endanger him. But it's just from a standpoint of just not feeling good, but he fought through it and truly displayed mental toughness in the situation of playing really a stellar game from a standpoint of running the football, making good decisions with the football, throwing to a multitude of receivers. So, yeah, I think where Kenny is in that area is he's earned respect from his teammates from a actions speak louder than words standpoint. He's not a real rah-rah guy, even though he's the field general out there under center making the calls and making the checks, but he's just a very likable guy with his teammates. And I think he came in the situation and very had a lot of respect for Joe and didn't want to step on anyone's toes per se, but just being Kenny. And I think being Kenny is a likable young man, and it was great. I said it after the first game. That's one of the healthiest competitions I've ever seen between quarterbacks. Usually when two guys are competing, you get a little bit of that rivalry or that. But those two guys, and Kenny's such a likable guy, that I didn't see that. I saw guys working together and maybe coaching each other up, and Joe's been great and as a result. And so I think the team really respects that about Kenny. And so, yeah, to answer your question, yeah, he is a leader. And not all leaders have to be vocal guys. They can make good decisions and set a good example by their actions. And that's really probably more important, truth be known, for a leader to be able to make good decisions and make good choices.
So game Saturday, Hawaii has really struggled stopping the run this season. I know they've had injuries and they're struggling all over the map. It's one of those years for them.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering that's really glaring when you look at how the ground game has gone for opponents. And I'm wondering if the offense is going to scheme something with Tyler and Tucker and Kenny, those three in particular, really getting them going.
Sure. Yeah, I think they've gone through some injuries up front. Their scheme has been various with different fronts from the 3-4, which is how they're listed here, to playing an even front, as we call it, with the 2 down and the 2 ends outside of that, kind of like a 4 down scheme. But I think that running the football is important for us because it does establish the line of scrimmage, but we also know we have to be able to throw the football. And I've always believed being a balanced attack is very important so that no one can really dial in and shut down one. If you major in one area and it's not working that day, for example, you need to be able to counter answer and go other ways. So we do have guys playing well, but those 3 guys being healthy is very important for us. Having Tuck back as a backup running back has been really good. It's helped where Tyler can share the load and especially at this point in the season when physically guys are getting tired and getting worn down, it's really nice to be able to bring a guy like Thomas Tucker back into the picture. And then Kenny's made some really good runs too, and it's been nice to add that to the run game. As a coach, you're always you want to see the quarterback make nice scrambles, but you also, the quarterback position, you want to keep him healthy too. And so you love quarterback runs, but only ones probably where he slides and doesn't get in a collision on the back end because you need him. You need him to be able to throw the ball and do things. But I'm confident our running game, our offensive line is gelling pretty solidly, and it's important that we have a good run game.
You're not going to change up pretty much your balanced attack, even though you're struggling with it.
Yeah, I think we go into every game trying to go with both the running the football and also passing the ball, and also the game helps dictate too where we go from there, depending on how people maybe they over defend certain aspects of your game, and we have to be able to adjust that. I think if we just go in Elliot, one mindset of doing one thing, and maybe they over defend it, and then there's a counter answer to that. I think we have to be flexible to be able to adjust to that. But I think that's one of the benefits of being a balanced team is be able to run the ball and to be able to effectively throw the ball.
Coach, we know traveling to Hawaii is not a typical road game by any means. There's a chance for it to be a lot of distractions out there. How are you going to be able to keep your team focused, especially flying in on Thursday, then Friday, and then all the way up to the game time on Saturday?
No, it's a good question because for the guys, some of them have never been there, and it's a beautiful place, a unique place, and that island fever. Or the island, the energy there is more of a relaxed vacation type mode. But they understand, we talked Sunday about it, that this is a business trip and we will certainly take care of that. There's still things that we're playing for and, take one game at a time. And I painted the picture of possibilities if we take care of business, what could happen. And I think that we have a mature group and I think they understand that. All the while, getting there on a Thursday night gives them a little time to unwind. Friday we'll have our walkthrough. They'll be, they'll be able to, Friday morning, just a little downtime, but nothing where guys really leave the right there, the hotel premises or that area right there, and that's one of the reasons we stay there. And then I think painted a pretty good picture, and the guys know what's at stake and what needs to happen and what the opportunities are that lie ahead. So I think we got pretty smart group of guys, pretty good leadership, and then we as coaches lay down the parameters, and I think we'll be okay. Yeah. Elliot, did you have
sorry. Talk about their quarterback. I mean, Matt was highly regarded, went to USC. He transferred over there, and he's gotten beat up, it looks like. And Wolseley's come in the last 3 games, a new coach, a lot of transition. Is it more difficult to sort of figure out what they might be doing against you guys?
Yeah, it is when you're not sure who's going to play. Wolsey played last year and played a really solid game against us. Max Wittick was, as you mentioned, highly recruited and was instrumental in they had a nice win. Interesting, their season, they had a real nice win against Colorado. Opened the season, they jumped out and then they hung on there at the end. And anytime you beat a Pac-12 school, that's really impressive. And that was great for our conference to get a nice win. But somewhere, along the line, they had their offense hit some, got tripped up a little bit, and then their defense, and they've been through some of those growing pains, and I think finding their identity and so forth has been tough. But back to the 2 quarterbacks is both have good attributes. Wittick has a big time arm. He throws the heck out of the football, and some of those interceptions are ones that really bounce off receivers that were thrown, put on the money, but maybe the pace was just coming out like the ball's coming out of a cannon, and so I think that he's got a lot of potential and a lot of ability, and we just need to be able to defend well and play tight man-to-man coverage so that he doesn't make those throws. And if it's Woolsey who might be the guy, because they both played last week against Fresno, he has the ability to tuck the ball and make runs and make plays with his legs too, because he's a very good athlete.
Coach, I'm just basing this on looking at box scores, but it seems to me from a defensive standpoint, your focus is going to pretty much be on running back Paul Harris. It seems like he's their only offensive threat. So are you guys, is that going to be the focus going into this Saturday's game?
Well,
stop him?
He definitely is a good question. The backup running back's a good player as well, but their starting running back averages 5.5 yards a carry, and that's pretty effective. You'll take that as a coach. You have a player average that, and like I said, their backup running back's 6 foot, 235 pounds. He's a load. He's tough to bring down as well, and they do have a multitude of receivers who are effective, who've made some plays. 2 receivers, I think. Their leading receivers, 3 touchdowns. Their backup has a couple touchdowns. So they spread the ball around. I think maybe the quarterback, and sometimes that plays an element in getting with a consistent guy, getting on the same page as the quarterback. But all in all, I think they're a talented group, and we certainly know that. I mean, they got us last year, and they played well, and their defense played really well, and so forth. So we respect them, and despite the record, have respect for them and their program and what they do, and we have to be on, playing very well as a unit to go and get a victory.
And regarding the Warriors' defense, is there anything that I mean, everything concerns you. You're the coach, but is there anything specifically that you're hoping that you guys can counter?
Well, I think they have put some pressure on some people early in the season. The Colorado game, they did a good job putting pressure on the quarterback. And over the course of the season, when they run the 3-4, the multitude of blitzes that they brought to people have done a pretty good job getting pressure on them. All the while, I think other teams have been able to run the ball, pretty well. We have to be able to do a good job of that. But also, knowing that what we saw last week in their Fresno game, some of these teams have gotten the ball in good field position. So that's tough on the defense when they have a short field that they have to defend, puts them in a tough position. But we just have to go out and be able to play our game and focus on San Jose State and do a good job with ball security, protecting the football. Execution is a big thing, being able to move the ball. I think some of those close games or their upsets are people who haven't been able to move the ball effectively on them early and have kept them in the game. And so we have to be able to do a good job of that. Okay, thanks everyone for joining us today. Appreciate it.
All right, that does it for this week's press conference. Once again, San Jose State on the road for the final time in the 2015 regular season this Saturday, November 21st at Hawaii. Game time at 6 o'clock Hawaii time, 8 o'clock Pacific. Pregame show on 1590 AM KLIV and the Spartan Radio Network at 7:30. You can also watch the game via Time Warner, Oceanic Cable, or the Mountain West Digital Network. Thanks for watching this week, and we'll see you next time.